Way high, and up she rises. Roll, boys, roll, boys, roll. Way high, and the blocks is different sizes. Way high, Sally Brown.
Okay, today we're going to be looking at a 2019 ADCC match between Bia Mesquita, who is on bottom right now and has the red ankle wrap, against Ffion Davies, who has the blue ankle wrap. Bia Mesquita is one of the most decorated female gi players. She has 5 IBJJF world titles at her weight, as well as an additional open weight title at black belt. So she has about as many accolades as any other female in the sport. But being ADCC, this is of course a no-gi match, and we're going to be looking primarily at the ending sequence of the match. So we're going to start here with Bia attacking a Kimura grip. So she's brought her right arm over the left arm of Ffion. Previously, she'd had a fairly close attempt at a Kimura in the match. Bia or the Ffion had managed to just escape. So Bia again has been keeping an eye out for that opening, tries to attack it again. This time though, she's pretty quickly losing the elbow of the arm that she's trying to attack with the Kimura. So this happens because Ffion is bringing her head slightly away and sort of shrugging her shoulder up out, which allows her elbow to slip out of that overwrap control for the Kimura that Bia is looking for there. As soon as she loses the elbow, Bia starts trying to attack the hip bump. So we'll see her plant her hand here and try and raise her hips. So her hips are still fairly low. Those are going to come up, and she's going to try and get above the hip line of Ffion. If she can start to apply rotation and bring Ffion's left hip to the mat for the sweep. She's attacked this a couple times earlier in the match though, so Ffion is fairly ready for it. She's already got her right foot more or less planted. She's going to pretty quickly bring her left foot up as well to get into a standing posture. So you can see she stands up. It brings her hips significantly higher than Bia is able to go off of that hand plant. So Bia abandons the hip bump and underhooks the left leg of Ffion. There's going to be a moment here where Ffion's head is fairly low. Her posture is not great, but because she's now standing, it's going to be a lot easier for her to bring her head away and gain a more athletic posture. And we're going to see that happen in just a second. Let's get rid of the pixels there. So she brings her head away. So in this sequence now, Bia wants to attack a double ankle sweep. So she's putting a hook grip on the right ankle of Ffion. And she still has that underhook control somewhat of the left ankle and foot of Ffion. But as we can see already, Ffion is extracting this foot up and out of that underhook control. And she's going to try and swing this foot back as soon as she can clear that grip to blade her stance up more, so that she can't have her hips pushed behind the plane between her legs. For the double ankle sweep. So if Bia could maintain control on both ankles, apply pressure into the hips with the back of her thighs or with her feet, and move the hip line of Ffion past the plane between the feet of Ffion, she would be able to tip her off balance, get the double ankle sweep, and come up on top. But because her control of the left ankle isn't super secure, and because it's no gi, things quickly get sweaty and controls are more tenuous at best, she's able to extract her foot up out of that underhook control, bring it around, and now you can see that she's bladed up. So while there's still control on her right leg that Bia's maintained, it's now going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for Bia to regain control of the left ankle of Ffion to attack that double ankle sweep. So now from here, we're going to see Ffion wants to bring her knee inside past the thigh of Bia. As soon as she does, she's going to apply downward pressure through her knee against the back of the thigh, the inside of the knee of Bia, to compress her guard and kind of pin her in place and allow her to start working her own passing game. So you can see there she gets her knee inside. She immediately starts putting pressure down through that knee, driving off of her planted foot, her left foot that's behind, and compresses the guard of Bia. So at this point, Bia is still playing guard, but has a lot less options to work with. Because Bia is primarily a closed guard player, especially in this match, she's been favoring the closed guard. Ffion underhooks the thigh, the left thigh, or rather the right thigh of Bia, to avoid her being able to just bring that leg back around her body. Even with her knee in, she could potentially close her guard around that knee and be playing a sort of Hodger closed guard. Ffion's trying to avoid that. There's a second here where Ffion does get tipped backward for a potential sweep exposure. So using the control of the right ankle that Bia has, she pushes backwards with her legs and extends the leg of Ffion. So in this position, Ffion's base is relatively weak. There's an opportunity here for Bia to swing her left leg out with a technical stand-up sort of motion and come on top by raising her hip level. There's a window there where it would be difficult for Ffion to beat her in that race, but very quickly Fion's going to drive back in with this knee to reestablish a combat base. So we'll see that happen now. She drives back in through her knee against the chest of Bia. Now she's back into combat base. She stands back up. As she stands up, Bia frames away, pushes at the far hip with her right leg to extend the base of Ffion. She doesn't want Ffion to be able to just freely step this foot around and to stuff her right leg in between Fion's legs to start attacking more effective knee cuts and passes from there. So she's framing away, she's trying to create distance, and we're going to see her try and come up to wrestle. So she's extracting her leg that was posting, she's bringing that knee back behind her, she's going to plant this knee and foot so that she can use this hand to control behind the knee. She's already got one control behind the left knee of Ffion, and she's going to try and drive through with her head and shoulders, suck those legs in to finish the double leg. But Ffion, being aware that the attack is coming, very quickly drops her hips and moves them away. She straightens her back and makes herself more parallel so that it's going to be difficult for her hips to be sucked underneath, which is what Bia wants. She wants to pull these knees and hips underneath her as she pushes forward through her head and shoulders, driving off of her feet into Ffion. That's how she would finish that double leg takedown here. She could run through it at that point to really make sure that she pulls those legs in and pushes her upper body over her hip line. But Ffion has kind of won this fight by getting parallel or roughly parallel to the mat, creating space here by moving her hips away and sprawling. She also, it's difficult to see, but has already put in an underhook on the right side. So she's in front of the right shoulder of Bia, and then is going to, as a counter to this double leg attempt, she is going to lift up on that underhook and use that to rotate Bia's left shoulder and try and put Bia on her left hip. She's going to do that by driving forward off of her toes that she has planted on the mat, while again lifting that underhook and turning it across her back. So we're going to see that happen now. Let's get rid of the pixels for that sequence. She drives into her and uses lifting on and turning across her back that underhook to put her on her right hip there. As soon as she gets Bia on her right hip, she brings her knee across the body into the mat. Her right foot is still at this point in a position where it could potentially get wrapped up for a half guard, but in this point now we see that she has brought her knee or her heel towards her butt to help avoid being trapped by the legs of Bia. Bia, for her part, is trying to counter by coming underneath. She may be looking to lock up a half guard. It does seem like she's trying to stuff this foot between her legs, which would suggest she wants to lock up the half guard. She may also just be thinking about coming out the back door, spinning all the way around Ffion's right leg to come up on her back, or to just escape the position and reset. But because she doesn't have control of that foot, it makes spinning underneath into deep half currently impossible unless she can stuff that leg down and get control of it to get into a half guard game. And it also makes it difficult for her to finish entirely rotating out the back. Ffion is going to as soon as she can, drop that knee to the mat as well. So now Ffion is straddling the side of Bia. It's a sort of mounted position, but Bia is on her side. So she's not flattened out. She still has more movement ability than if she had been fully flattened out in a mount. Ffion is also riding fairly high, so her hip level is almost at like the shoulder level of Bia. So she's still susceptible to Bia being able to come out the back door to slip out the back, and she doesn't have any control of the right arm of Bia. So Bia's right arm is below Ffion's right thigh here. What that's going to allow, though, is that as Bia comes up to her knees, up to a sort of turtle position, this knee is going to come this way to plant on the mat, and this knee is going to head the opposite direction and find the mat, and her hips are going to raise up. As that happens, her right side is going to leave the mat. As that happens, there's going to be a pocket of space underneath her side, and Ffion is going to look for that. As soon as that opens up, she wants to shoot her right leg across the body, across the chest of Bia to lock up a reverse triangle. So we're going to see that happen now. As soon as that space opens up, Ffion is bringing that leg across and looking to lock up the triangle. So she hasn't quite locked it up fully yet here, but we can already see the leg figure 4 position starting. Okay, so now she's fully locked up that figure 4. That leg that found the space as soon as it opened up has found the knee pocket of her left leg. She's kind of curling her toes into her own leg to really solidify that leg knot. The other important thing that she's doing here is she's using an instep and shin hook against the side and hip pocket of Bia. This is going to severely limit Bia's ability to rotate around the corner and find some escapes that would be possible there, where she could potentially come loosen the reverse triangle by coming around the corner there. She could end up in guard. She could end up in a traditional triangle coming out of that, but she would be able to change the position up there. But because of that instep hook that is going to be persistently along the side and hip pocket, which is this space here of Bia, it's going to be blocking the shin bone. Essentially, is going to be blocking her ability to rotate relative to Ffion. If she moves to her left, Fion's just going to be dragged along with her, and we're going to see. It's hard to tell from here, but Ffion is beginning to dig out the arm. Let's get rid of the pixelization. Okay, and now we can see she's hand fighting, and she is about to break the grip to expose the arm. And as soon as she gets this arm exposed, we can see that immediately she is dropping her hips into that arm. And as soon as that arm goes straight, it's actually being hyperextended this way. You can see there's a slight bend to that arm almost as soon as the grip breaks and she gets it extended. There's a chance that there's damage already being done to Bia Mesquita's arm at this point. Still, that instep hook is in the hip pocket of Bia, severely limiting her ability to close distance this way, to step over. Bia most likely seems to want to step her left leg on this side of Ffion's body and straddle her with her other leg. So she would be straddling the back of Ffion. Once she rotates that way, she would be able to alleviate the pressure on her arm and then potentially extract it out of the reverse triangle configuration here. She could use her back muscles and her posture to fight against the legs of Ffion, rather than just having to fight her entire upper body with an already extended arm as she's stuck in at this point. And we can see here, let's get rid of the pixelization again, she will jump, most likely wanting again to bring this leg to this side of Ffion's body, to Ffion's right side, and this leg on the other side of Ffion, so that Bia would be straddling the back of Ffion Davies. But because of this instep hook and that shin bone being in the way, it's just not possible for her to do so. And she's gonna get rid of the pixelization. She's going to attempt this a couple times where she heads that direction, she runs into the shin bone, she tries to raise her hips and do a headstand and do a sort of cartwheel to that direction to get past the instep hook, and she just can't find it. And we can see now that this arm is already badly hyperextending. At certain points, the elbow isn't entirely perpendicular to the hips, so the pressure isn't always going directly into the joint, but even pressure against the side of an elbow joint is going to do damage when done with significant force. And from the moment that Ffion got that arm extended and broke the grips, she was applying significant force to that arm. And it's going to get a little gruesome here, as not only is she at this point applying hip in pressure, but she starts to rotate the arm, and it seems like there's probably some dislocation happening at the elbow there. Never fun to see, and you can see Bia immediately grabs the elbow. Never fun to see someone get injured, and especially a great like Bia Mesquita, but what a huge moment for Ffion Davies, picking up a big upset win on the biggest no-gi stage in the sport, as an up-and-comer who's really starting to make a name for themselves. And that's all I have to talk about for this match. I plan to be putting up videos every Monday, so keep an eye out for those. If there are any players, matches, or sequences you'd like to see me scribble over top of, let me know in the comments. And remember, steal what works,